Whew. Hey friends, we just got done watching the Nvidia announcement at Gamescom revealing the new graphics cards, and we want to tell you about them as much as possible, as quickly as possible, and give you our spin on it. But before we do, our coverage of the new Nvidia graphics cards are brought to you by betterhelp.com/UFD. If you need affordable professional online counseling from licensed therapists it's very affordable, $35 to $65 a week, or a sponsorship is available if you need it, and you need to match with somebody who fits your lifestyle, who fits your preference, and you can change to anybody at your whim. If you really want it, you can check out the link in the video description, betterhelp.com/UFD. Quick little plug there. Thank you so much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring these videos. Guys, please check them out. It helps to make sure that we can make these videos as well as we do. So let's go ahead and talk about what happened at the live stream and what Nvidia presented us with. So first up, they started off by trolling us by Jensen saying that it was the GTX 1180 to dead silence, and then saying that this is the most leaked thing and that everybody got everything wrong, which is mostly true up until like a couple days ago over the weekend, where we actually got some fresh leaks. A lot of time of the press conference was spent Jensen telling us about light, ray tracing, physics, how shadows interact with things, what we should expect to see with RTX, how ray tracing is going to be implemented in new games. They showed off Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is confirmed to have RTX, Metro Exodus, confirmed to have RTX, and then Battlefield 5, which again is confirmed to have RTX. So all of these games are being partnered with Nvidia to bring ray tracing to consumer cards. The weird thing about it was that none of the demos looked particularly good. Like that's just my personal opinion there. Like all of the games, which by the way, it took them an hour into the live stream, hour and a half into the live stream, for them to finally get to the video games that they were trying to show off with ray tracing. A lot of the presentation just sounded like Jensen trying to explain to us why we should be excited for the new technology, because they don't have actually good implementations of how we're going to be excited about it. They slowed down so many things and made us focus on people's eyes or reflections in puddles or reflections in cars, which is great, but it's something that when it's turned off, I don't passively notice in a game anyways. It's going to add to immersion, but a lot of this just felt like Jensen and Nvidia trying to push the new technology on us, saying, this is what you need, you know you need it because we're telling you that you need it, and it's not something that many consumers actually want. Even the examples where they were showing ray tracing turned off and there was like low resolution, it just looked like the developer hadn't accounted for ray tracing being turned off, so they didn't develop that part. It would look so much better in a game that didn't try to be about ray tracing. So there's a lot of that happened, and it took him forever to actually get to the freaking cards. So they showed off a lot at the very beginning, talking about how the new cards have 14 teraflops of performance plus 14 tips. They have variable rate shading. There's 10 gigaраys of performance, while the 1080 Ti only does 1.2 gigaраys. So basically it's like 8 to 9 times the performance of a 1080 Ti in ray tracing scenarios. They have 110 teraflops of tensor core performance, which is the same as the Titan V. So the 2080 Ti would have the same tensor core performance as a $3,000 card. And then they showed that with the Star Wars demo that we're all used to seeing, one Turing card, the 2080 Ti, could do it in 45 milliseconds, whereas the 4 Voltas did it in 55 milliseconds, and the 1080 Ti does it in 308 milliseconds, making the Turing card basically 7 times faster than the 1080 Ti. So ray tracing, it's really great at that. They're showing that it has 78 tera RTX ops per second, which is how many ray tracing things it can do. So 78 tera versions of that, while the Titan X can only do 12. So that's the 2080 Ti, which they were teasing throughout the entire thing. They finally got to unveiling it, and the specs are out on the website. We can see that it has 4,352 CUDA cores, has a base clock of 1350 megahertz, a boost clock of 1635, and 11 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM with 616 gigabytes per second of memory throughput, and a TDP of only 260 watts. Then they also unveiled the GTX 2080, which had all of the confirmed specs that we expected. And then in the gigaраys department, it has 8 gigaраys and 60 tera RTX ops, which is lower than the 2080 Ti. Obviously, the RTX 2070 has 6 gigaраys of performance and 45 tera RTX ops, which is about triple what the Titan would have, which is great. But Nvidia spent so much time convincing us that we need ray tracing that they never really got to unveiling how well the cards perform in normal gaming scenarios. Jensen at the very end kind of threw out that the 2070 was faster than a Titan XP, but what does that mean? Faster in what? Faster in which games? This wasn't like the 10 series launch where they told us that the 1080 was basically 980s in SLI, and you could count on that. There was very little discussion about the traditional performance of these cards because Nvidia is trying so hard to sell us on their ray tracing, which I just don't even understand. So now let's go ahead and talk about the price of these cards. We have the RTX 2080 Ti, 2080, and 2070 confirmed. Nothing lower than that was mentioned. So the GTX 2060 and all of those, no talk about those just yet. However, the pricing during the live stream, Nvidia had it out like $100,000 per card, which then changed to $1,200 for the 2080 Ti, $800 for the 2080, and $600 for the 2070. But then Jensen announced in the conference that the 2080 Ti would be $1,000, the 2080 would be $700, and the 2070 would be $500, which do not reflect the prices that are currently on the actual Nvidia website. So the pricing that they quoted does not match up with what's on their website. And then even looking at AIB partner cards that are currently launched on websites like Amazon are showing that the prices are indeed $1,200, $800, and $600, not $1,000, $700, and $500. At the prices that Nvidia was saying, which is $1,000, sure, that's a 42% price jump from the 1080 Ti, but we could expect a 40 to 50% improvement from the 1080 Ti. So the pricing is kind of directly scalable. It doesn't make the 1080 Ti obsolete, it just makes the 2080 Ti most powerful. The 2080 launching at $700 is how much the 1080 launched for, Founders Edition, so that's fine. But it costing $800 makes no sense because that's a 50% price bump and we're barely gonna get 50% traditional performance out of it. The 2070, likewise, $600 makes no sense. $500 is a little high, but still, again, justifiable within the realms of what you would consider a normal price card for what they bring in performance. I don't know what Nvidia is doing here. None of this makes a whole lot of sense. The pricing on their website doesn't match up with what Jensen said was actually going to be, the price we're going to be in the conference. They said that the cards would ship from September 20th, but the website only shows the 2080 and 2080 Ti will be available on September 20th, whereas the 2070 doesn't have a release date. So we don't know what's actually going on even after this conference. Nothing is clear. Not a whole lot makes sense. The thing that became clear in my mind throughout this entire conference is that this is just like video games. Do not pre-order them. This was a whole lot of marketing hype from Jensen to actually make it seem like we should be wanting to buy these cards. We should want ray tracing cards. We should want ray tracing. But the amount of time and detail and effort that he had to go through in order to convince us of that makes me not so sure that I actually need these cards. Like, yes, the 2080 Ti will likely be the best gaming card that's out on the market, bar none. But is it worth $1,000? Maybe. Is it worth $1,200? Heck no, not even close. The pricing just doesn't make any sense. Even with the fact that it's bringing new technology into the fold, we are getting ray tracing cores, we are getting tensor cores. Those things are new and we haven't experienced them before, so having those makes a whole lot of sense, but it doesn't at the price that it's coming in. It seems like Nvidia is trying to force us to pay the early adopter fee on ray tracing and charge us a butt ton right up front so that the next gen 7nm cards that include ray tracing won't cost as much and they'll actually be affordable for ray tracing for the general consumer. I'm not particularly happy about this launch. I personally would advocate that you do not pre-order these cards until you wait for reviews to come out. The fact that they're all launching September 20th likely means that reviews from reviewers will come out about a couple days beforehand, and that will give you plenty of time to still get them on launch day if they don't sell out. So that's what I would personally recommend. I am not as excited for these cards as I was earlier. The pricing for me just kind of completely ruins it. Ray tracing is a great technology. Ray tracing will be nice if I add it into games, but Nvidia spent like 25 to 30 minutes trying to convince us that shadows are the most important thing in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which doesn't make any sense. Everybody freaking turns shadows off anyways because we know that it's the most impactful thing in a video game. You turn shadows off, your FPS goes through the roof, so why are you trying to convince me that I need more detailed shadows? It's great. It's gonna be lovely for a 2080 Ti to do that at 1080p and get 60 FPS buttery smooth. but it sucks for the general consumer, and most people are going to turn off shadows anyways because our systems just won't be able to handle it, and we'll get better frame rate without it. And then there's other things about these cards that don't make as much sense, like the Founders Editions are claiming a higher clock speed than normal cards. Like, it looks like the Founders Editions are overclocked, whereas normal cards have a lesser clock. And supposedly, according to videocards.com tweet, they're saying that they come at a $100 premium, which doesn't make any sense because Jensen said this is what the prices are for their Founders Edition. I don't know if you can tell, I'm personally a little infuriated about all of this. The pricing is stupid, the ray tracing is not that beneficial, and they're trying to sell us an idea on cards that just make no sense. And the fact that they had to spend over an hour and a half trying to point out the subtle differences between ray tracing and not ray tracing is what pisses me off the most, because they're freaking trying to, if you don't notice it right off the bat, it's not a big deal. Like, if you, like, yes, it's great for immersion. The games look better that way. I can completely agree. Real-time ray tracing is a great advancement in technology, but it's not worth $1,200. I'm not in favor of you buying these cards. However, one of the improvements that they did make was to the Founders Edition. We talked about this before. It's a dual fan solution, and they're saying that it is 1/5 the volume of the 1080 Ti Founders Edition cards, which means you don't have any more blower fan style thing going on. Hopefully, the performance will be a little bit better. There will obviously be more information that's coming out as we get closer to the launch date. September 20th is when we're expecting to see it. We're already seeing some video cards has a tweet out about 2.1 gigahertz on an EVGA card of the 2080 Ti. There's a lot more that remains to be seen. Performance, we have no clue what it's going to be like. Please don't pre-order these cards. However, if you are going to, we have affiliate links in the video description to Newegg, Amazon, and the Nvidia store. So if you are picking these up and you want to support UFD Tech, you can use the links in the video description. I know that I'm personally waiting. I can't bring myself to actually pay for these cards whatsoever. I'm gonna do my best to get free review samples because, like, I personally cannot support Nvidia in charging this much. I really hope you guys don't either. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm not okay with this. Like, GPP was a whole bunch of nonsense, and apparently when you piss Nvidia off and you make them remove GPP, this is basically what you get, 40% price increases on everything. I'm gonna wrap the video up there. What do you guys think of these cards? Are you excited for them? Are you gonna buy them? Have you already bought one? Let me know in this poll right up here what your preferences and opinions are. Let me know down in the comments what you're thinking about all of them. I'm keen to hear what you have to say. And don't forget that this video is brought to you by betterhelp.com/UFD. So if you need affordable, professional, licensed therapists at an easy, convenient style, you can check out betterhelp.com/UFD down in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech channel. I love your smiling faces, and I'll see you, and I love you too.